Welcome to Coffee with Hybrix. My name is Joachim.
And my name is Jacob. Nice to meet you.
Basically, we're just going to have a little chat about what's going on in crypto. And there's apparently something new going on every day because there's many chains. In Hybrix, we're interested in what's going on with these chains because we support a lot of them. And we just like to see the adventures and things that are going on in these groups. So I read here on CoinDesk that Ethereum has become Bitcoin's top off-chain destination. And they say the most popular way to use Bitcoin off-chain is on Ethereum, recent data indicates. So basically Bitcoin as a cryptocurrency that is got its own chain, the first cryptocurrency, is basically going off-chain. How? Maybe in a wrap token or other type of peg construction. So what's interesting to me here is if Bitcoin's not being used on Bitcoin, how does that work?
Yes, that's a good question. So it's pegged to the Bitcoin price, so it always follows that price.
Seems to be like that. So there's, I think, several constructions. I've seen WBTC, which literally stands for wrapped Bitcoin. And it's basically just a token like US dollar tether on Ethereum, but yeah, so they apparently peg the price by way of some kind of mechanism, maybe by buying it when Bitcoin goes up and selling it when Bitcoin goes down.
Mm-hmm. But there must be a latency there then.
I suspect so, and maybe also an opportunity for arbitrage traders. But certainly also something that the purists would say, no, this is not Bitcoin, this is not.
Well, it is wrapped, so it's not, yeah.
Yeah, just be careful when you open the wrapper,
You never know what you're going to get.
You never know what you're going to get. So yeah, I think that's an interesting one. Another one I saw was HBTC, which was Huobi's attempt to create Bitcoin on Ethereum. And I think that's something basically
it's
that's
also on ERC20?
I think so, yeah. And it's under their control apparently. I haven't checked it out yet, so it could be that they're connected to a contract that does this automatically. I think that's a good thing to check out. But in any case, it looks like Bitcoin as a cryptocurrency is being pulled off its own chain. And in one way you could say, well, it looks a little bit like gold contracts, how they used to buy and sell physical gold in the real world, but now you can also buy gold on paper, so you don't actually have the gold, but you have a representation of the gold. Don't know if that's the right analogy, but
oh yeah,
echoes of the fiat or traditional.
What might happen after this then?
Yeah. So I wonder, and I wonder also if we would see one of these pegs breaking down or not. If this is going to be okay. This is an adventure in that sense. And could have.
And how does this relate to Vitalik's efforts to interlink or to bridge the gap between Ethereum and Bitcoin? Is this one of those exponents? I
don't know if actually Vitalik himself has much to do with it, because they've been touting that Ethereum now has a layer 2 system on top of it, which in essence I think was already there. Seeing that smart contracts also propose or enable a layer 2 mechanism or construction for sending tokens, but they're marketing it regardless, and it looks like it really does look a little bit like other organizations want to represent Bitcoin on the Ethereum chain, which also kind of implies that they're responsible for this. How solid the peg is going to be, and I think that's good for liquidity, especially if you want to do decentralized trading on Ethereum. On the other hand, it might also create some new problems, because if Bitcoin is not on the Bitcoin chain itself and some organization is responsible,
Yeah, doesn't sound too safe, maybe? Is that a problem also?
Yeah, maybe, and it would look like we get the same trouble that everybody was going on about with Tether itself, that they can just issue US dollar Tether on a chain and say, well, it's backed by US dollars. And if you issue Bitcoin on another chain and you say, well, it's backed by Bitcoin, it's basically the same thing. So but in this case, everybody's lauding it as a positive development, while in the case of Tether, well, they got a lot of flack for their actions, understandably. I mean, it does centralize money a little bit towards their organization. But then why is there no trouble here when it comes to Bitcoin? Why are people not saying, wait a minute, if this is not really Bitcoin, then, I'm just wondering about that. I think, though, however, what we're seeing for the future is apparently there's a need for people to see assets like Bitcoin moving beyond their own chain. There's a need for swapping value on popular chains like Ethereum. So that means that value is going to flow that way anyways, and that's the way it's being done right now.
So basically the Ethereum ecosystem grows and grows and grows.
It's pulling a lot of its competitors to itself in that sense, if you could see Bitcoin and Ethereum as competitors. And I think indeed because it's popular, it's got a lot of support in marketing and development. So of course that also creates traction. But it also leaves me thinking, like, how could this be done more objectively? Because if it all revolves around one system, and in this case Ethereum, it also makes it more brittle, because one system that runs everything can break down or get into trouble. So personally, I'd be positive about seeing it develop another way, which is that we don't just see these assets appearing on Ethereum, but we see them appearing on other chains. And maybe also in a way that's more interoperable than it is now, because wrapped Bitcoin is still an ERC20 token, which is an Ethereum native token, but that doesn't automatically work on something else. And I believe it would be good to see something that could travel along all these chains instead of just stay on one.
Is there something that could do that?
Not yet.
There are developments towards that, right?
Yes.
By different parties also.
There are several parties, so I'm very optimistic about the experiments that Qtum have been doing. They try to bridge Ethereum and Bitcoin specifically.
Okay, but that's two chains. What about the multitude of chains which exist?
I don't know if there's something like, of course, what hybrix is doing, what we're doing is trying to bridge chains, but I don't know of many projects that are actually trying to go beyond this, aside from, for example, Cosmos, but also that is still quite Ethereum centric. I think it's also very easy and enticing for other organizations to latch onto Ethereum because it's basically got a very good developer toolkit, and but that doesn't still solve the problem.
Active, right?
It is a very active community. And I've had some positive experiences there myself. But I think it would be good to see this go beyond just one chain system. And I'm also happy to see that there are initiatives that are trying to, replicate Ethereum's success using their own experimental chains and seeing, how that can be done. But those are all still smaller, so they're not as much drawing the market to themselves. There's also some that have really good marketing, like if you look at Tron, for example, a very good marketing, and on the other side you hear a lot of critical noises about that as well. So because it's just a lot of marketing, I think I think there's a lot to win if we find out how these different organizations and groups and projects that are developing these things all in-house right now start working together more, collaborate more.
Do you see that happening soon, or they seem like mostly like islands, and maybe they're really focused on their own systems and developing those and the cool features that they have, as opposed to other systems?
There are a lot of islands, that's true. I think that that's still a problem, and I also think that there's a reason for it. We've had, of course, the crypto winter, which was really a very big problem for a lot of organizations that have had to cut on costs. So instead of collaborating, they start protecting their own. And I'd rather see it that we become open again, and that we try to look forward to how we could make crypto work for everybody, not just the people in the scene. And I think that really means we need to collaborate, and we can't just leave that up to big players. We all need to do this, I think.
Yeah, but to make it work for everybody, like a US Tether, USD Tether, is maybe a good thing for people who want to use cryptocurrencies, because they know it's going to be pegged to a fiat currency, which they know and which they probably trust more than something foreign like cryptocurrencies.
Yeah, true.
So that might be actually a good development as an entry point, maybe.
Yeah, I think so. But
and also maybe countries like I don't know what they use at the moment, Venezuela. They also had a huge benefit from using cryptocurrencies, right?
Absolutely. They also used Bitcoin a lot, but because of the fluctuating prices, it has its downsides as well.
But maybe it was less fluctuating than their own currencies.
I think so. Yeah. Which is sad, but yeah, possibly they had even more positive experience with a cryptocurrency like Bitcoin, which shows the state of the country and its leadership. But no, on the other hand, you see that Tether is also very large, has a very large market when it comes to stablecoin activity. I think they're at the moment the stablecoin market leader. But luckily there are a lot of other initiatives for US dollar pegged currencies like USDC and true US dollar and PAX. But what I think is that if these don't make it, if they don't get a big enough market share, that could pose a problem, because then Tether will still win, and Tether is of these solutions the most centralized currently.
But they're not decentralized, so they're really...
Well, they are centrally backed by US dollars.
Okay, of course, in that way,
yeah. And I hope that what we've been trying to do is create something called a unified asset, where you can just send somebody digital dollars, and then underneath it doesn't really matter what kind of digital dollars they are. So they could be PAX, they could be USDC, they could be Tethers, or a combination of some of them, but all of them seen as it were crypto legal tender. And it would be nice to see that also becoming adopted more, because I believe that would give all of these groups a chance and not just one of them, and then possibly would make the market also more liquid for everybody, and it will give all these projects their own chance to thrive and become a good solution for their niche in cryptocurrency. Yeah.
So it's basically like wrapping the whole crypto market.
No, actually a unified asset doesn't wrap it. It basically just represents it, but then only locally. So we're not, in this case, wrapping it and standing above the assets as they are, but we're basically staying on the same level. There's also no profit in it for hybrix. So by unifying these assets, you're basically creating something that is a boon for everybody.
That sounds like a weird business case. There's no profit for hybrix here.
That's true, but it's also...
Especially in this scene.
Yeah, it is. But we started hybrix to try to make this change. And that means that when it comes to the money system itself, we don't want that to be the business model. We want to make sure that business models that are attached to hybrix are always separated enough from the construction that makes up money itself, so that you know that that's not going to be tainted by your profit seeking. And so what you want to do is find out how to create sustainable business without actually impacting crypto assets themselves. That's what we would like to do.
Okay, so we talked about the wrap BTC and how that has gained some traction. And also the tethered coins, which are tethered to fiat currencies like the US dollar, and some solutions which different companies are developing, like Cosmos and hybrix, and what they are doing for the crypto scene and the field, to basically unite it more and to basically give the user the freedom to do what they want, where they want. Interesting. Cool.
Yeah. Well, I hope we can see you next time when we want to invite somebody from the cryptocurrency community and just have a nice conversation with them. And we're looking forward to seeing you again.